The biggest hack to finding comps in less than 60 seconds in wholesaling real estate. Guys, it's Rick Ginn, and today we're gonna go through comps and show you the easiest way to do it. And I'm gonna so simplify this because you guys get way too complicated in comps. And if you stay till the end, I'm gonna teach you a trick on how to find comps on properties where there's absolutely no comps. But before I get into it, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, you hit that subscribe button to continue to receive the absolute best information on wholesaling today. So what is a comp? A comp is just a short version, not even an acronym, just a short version of the word comparables. Now, this word actually comes from our realtor world, but basically it is a comparison of basically exact like houses, similar proximity, meaning location, and similar dates. It is important you have all three of those components or you do not have an accurate comp. And the reality is most people are very biased in their comps by nature because they try to force deals to work. And I'm going to teach you how not to be biased and how to learn to do comps quickly and easily as a wholesaler. So the first thing you got to understand is you got to stop acting like a realtor. What do I mean by that? A realtor tries to get perfect comps. Honestly, I've seen realtors spend hours, if not days, if not weeks doing comps. Honestly, that is not your wheelhouse as a wholesaler. The reality is we only want to comp just a few properties. A realtor comps every property to try to get the perfect exact number, what a property is going to sell for. And the reality is they are going for a listing. You are going for a sale. And it is a complete different mantra. You have to understand, as a wholesaler, you should never spend more than 10 minutes on a comp. Why? Because you're just wasting your time. I want you to think about this. If you have 100 prospects, maybe you got driving for dollars list. It's a perfect example. Of that, honestly, only about 5 to 7 of them are worth actually pulling a comp on. You see, what most of you try to do, here's the secret. Most of you try to get a comp for all 100 properties. Why? Because you guys tell me all the time, and you're doing it wrong. Honestly, if it takes you an hour to do a comp on 100 properties, you're gonna give up 2.5 weeks of your life working. It's ridiculous when the reality is you only need to do about 5 to 7. And of those 5 to 7, you do just a quick comp. Why? Because you're a wholesaler. You're not looking for the exact price. You're looking for the most conservative value of similar properties in similar proximity and similar date that have sold so you can get what they call an ARV, an after repaired value. Now, an after repaired value considers that the repairs are done, so you're gonna have to take repairs into consideration. But for simplicity on this video, I want you to understand how this is done. You see, if you spend 10 minutes on doing 5 properties, that's less than an hour, and then you go out and meet with these people, and the reality is you really don't get into the weeds with the person unless the motivation's there. Here is the key: only comp properties for motivated sellers. How do you know if they're motivated? You have to qualify them. How do you qualify them? I teach you the MCTP, which is motivation, condition, timeline, and price. If you want to learn how to do that in detail, please go over to freewholesaling.com. I do an entire series on exactly how to do this. You see, as a wholesaler, your job is not to comp every property. You only comp properties for people you're going to work with, which are motivated sellers. The reason why you guys want to do all 100 is you want certainty, you want to know the outcome, and you're trying to avoid being uncomfortable. You see, when you don't know an answer to something makes you uncomfortable. The reality as a wholesaler, you're going to have to learn the skill set of being wildly uncomfortable. And you are not going to know everything off the bat. That is not your job as a wholesaler. Your job as a wholesaler is to market and locate motivated sellers. That is the highest and best skill set you can do. The second skill set is learn how to negotiate and work with people. And that's what me and Zach focus on here on this channel. So guys, stop trying to predict every outcome of every property. To be honest with you, do a comp for a motivated seller. Don't spend more than 10 minutes. And here's how you do it. You take the comparable information, you take the similar type house, proximity and date, you throw out the high and you get rid of the low. And honestly, I go with the most conservative value. It's just that simple. The easiest way to me is I like to go over to listrei.com because it's predictable, it's easy, and it's super convenient, and it's a heck of a lot cheaper than hiring your own employee to do it. So let's talk about the free way to get comps. The first rule I'm going to teach you is go over to Zillow. Yes, I know it's a realtor website. I get it, but it has a thing called Zestimate, and the really cool part about it is you can use this as part of your comp intel information, but the reality is you want to know what this information is because this is where all your sellers go to get it. So you might as well know it because it's valuable information. Not only do you get what they call the Zestimate, which is a wild guess. Sometimes it works for you, sometimes it works against you. It's important you know it because most sellers are going to throw it in your face. So get it out of the way. Number two, there is a history of the property in that section. It will tell you property listing information if they put it on MLS. It'll tell you any type of price changes, price history, and honestly, it'll tell you the entire history of the property, and it will help verify the story your motivated seller is to make sure they are telling you the truth, and more importantly, that you guide them and get to the truth. All great wholesale deals have one fundamental element. You got to get to the truth. Whoever gets to the truth the quickest gets the best wholesale deals. So some other simple online tools that you add to it. Remember, Zillow, you're going to add to all your information, but you're mostly doing it for intel on your motivated sellers. The second one you're going to use is realtor.com, Redfin, Trulia. Guys, it is absolutely amazing. Because when I started out wholesaling, I actually had to go to a realtor's office and get this information. It is all at the tips of your fingers. Most of the MLS data is shared online. Guys, get this information. One of the easiest ways is just look it up. Do not overthink it. Remember, guys, less than 10 minutes. If you're spending 10 minutes, it means you're most likely paying too much for the property. It is just the truth. Go out and get the right price for the property. Stop trying to get an overpriced contract and then trying to find the highest comp. That is not wholesaling. Honestly, you're in realtor world and you're going to fail by doing that technique. Now, in my opinion, the easiest way to do this is simply use listrei.com. You can get a free 7-day trial period in there. And it's like having an employee at your fingertips for a very, very modest price. Honestly, it's going to give you speed, convenience. And I talk about that 10-minute rule. Listrei.com solves this entire problem for you. It is, in my opinion, the most convenient, quickest way to get a comp only for motivated sellers. It is not designed for realtors. Realtors got to use a billion tools. Wholesaler just needs to find out basically what is the ARV and its most conservative number and find out if they can get a deep discount on it. The truth is, you have to get substantial discount on wholesale properties. So there should be a disparity between the comp and your contract price. If there's no disparity, it's not going to work. And what most people try to do is they try to find a comp to match their overpriced contract. And honestly, you're just going to waste time. It's going to be a failed contract and you're going to work for free. So start thinking like a wholesaler and get rid of the realtor mentality, because as a wholesaler, you can't think like a realtor. I told you at the end, I would tell you how to comp a property when there is actually no comparables. You can't find any data and it doesn't work. Now, a lot of times this is going to be for like a landlord type property, or maybe a property that's in the middle of nowhere, or maybe it's just a weird, funky property. Don't worry, I got you covered. We can simplify this. It's not hard. So the easiest way to start is look at the property's price history in the property appraiser site. A lot of times people own these properties 20, 30 years, and I get it. It's not really useful information, but give it a shot if they bought it in the last 3 years. That's a great starting point. Technique number 2, the TAV, the tax assessed value, which you should be able to get at your property appraiser site or your tax collector site for that property. And they use this information to tax properties fairly. There's laws on the books in the United States that they have to follow these guidelines. And on average, this is not a rule, but on average, a TAV should be below what the ARV is. In some markets, it's the opposite, but for the most part, I'm in Florida and it's typically between 20 and 25% below the ARV. It is a good starting ground foundation rule. Sometimes if you find out that your TAV is at a 20 to 25% discount, it's a great place to start to even make an offer on the property. But let's not stop there. I'm going to give you what I call the 10% rule. I've used this since I've started in wholesaling and it's always worked really well. Simply, all you have to do is find out what the property would rent for. So hopefully you have renters in there. That is the best data you can possibly get. Do not take realtor's information for what it could rent for if you fix it up. That's what we call pro forma data, and it's no good to a wholesaler. We have to price the property for what it's worth today. So if I have no information and the property rents for $1,500, just divide it by 0.10, 10%, and you should come up with a price of about $150,000. It is a just blanket, simple way to figure out a calculation on the property. If somebody bought it for $150,000 and they got $1,500 a month, on average, they get a 10% return. I know it's not the net number. I'm not minding off taxes, insurance, vacancy, all that stuff. It is just a simple ground running rule. And honestly, that's a great place to figure out if someone were to pay for that property, what you could expect to offer it on the market. Now, it might be a little bit more, it might be a little bit less. Remember, it is just a general rule because if you don't have a comp, you have to start in one of these areas. And if you don't know how to figure out what the rent on a property is like that, if you had a property that was selling for $100,000, multiply it by 1%, you want to get at least $1,000 a month. Guys, where there's no comps, honestly, it's great opportunity for a wholesaler because people are confused. You bring certainty. If someone's buy that property and they got a 10% return, that's more they're going to get in most other markets. It's a lot more than they're ever going to get in their bank. This is a great place to start, guys. When they don't have comps, I get excited because nobody knows the data. And if you use these rules, you can extract the numbers out, get them to your cash buyers, and solve a problem both for the buyer, the seller, and it is a huge win-win-win because you're the wholesaler in between. So guys, let me know which of these techniques you're going to use for your comping, and do you buy into the no comp rule, meaning using the 10% and using the 1% rule to do calculations? Guys, I love when there's no comps because it means there's nothing more than opportunity. So listen, if you got value from this video, do me a favor, smash that like button. It helps me out a lot. And if you want to continue to receive information on the truth on wholesaling, make sure you hit that subscribe button. This is Rick Ginn. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.